enjoyed that experience. We got a chance to talk about some differences between us. I got to ask the president some questions. A lot of people have wanted to ask him, like, why with 23 million Americans out of work when he took office, struggling to find work, why instead of focusing on getting them jobs, he focused on Obamacare? I got to ask him questions like, how come with gasoline so expensive, with it almost twice as much as when he took office, why it was that he cut in half the number of permits for drilling on federal lands and in federal waters. I got to ask why it was when he called the massive deficit we have un-American, and I understand look, the deficit spending has been just outrageous under Republicans and Democrats. But why, when that was the case, he spent $90 billion sending money to green energy companies, many of whom were owned by friends of his, contributors of his. And, we heard what he had to say, or not say. I think we boil it down to this. He said, more recently, he said, look, you can't change Washington from the inside, you got to change it from the outside. Well, we're going to give him that chance on November 6th. Now, there were a couple of places where we agreed. We agreed, for instance, that we would take this country in very different directions. And he points out that, well, actually it was the vice president that blurted out the truth, that they're planning on raising taxes by $1 trillion. Actually, it's more like $2 trillion with the Obamacare taxes. There's no question but that their spending and the interest on the debt that they amass by virtue of their spending will do what one recent study showed, and that is it's going to cause them to raise taxes on the middle class. And I make this commitment to you. Under no circumstances will I raise taxes on the middle class of America. Under his path, we're going to have Obamacare installed. And let me tell you what that means. That means a bureaucrat's going to tell you ultimately what kind of treatment you can have. It also means that your health insurance premiums are going to be $2,500 more expensive. I mean, you listen to the president. He tells you all these free things you're getting with Obamacare. But those free things come with a $2,500 extra charge. What I'm going to do is repeal Obamacare and replace it with something that actually works for the American people. And I hope you listen carefully also in my debate and in Paul Ryan's debate, because the president, he's pointing out, in fact, they are cutting $716 billion from Medicare, from current Medicare beneficiaries. Under our team, we're putting that money back. We're going to honor the promises made to our seniors. And one more thing that Senator Portman mentioned. He has in his budget cutting our military by hundreds of billions. That's the president has that, not Senator Portman. And then in addition, there was that sequester idea the White House had to cut another several hundred billion. They'll cut about $1 trillion from our military. The Secretary of Defense has said that those cuts would be devastating to America, to our military, to our national security. I will not make those cuts. I will not cut our military. I'll keep it a second to none in the world. And when it came to jobs, both last night with Vice President Biden and in my debate with President Obama, they didn't have a plan for creating jobs for middle-income Americans. They say they care about middle-income Americans, and I believe they care. They just don't know what to do. And so they say, well, they're going to have another stimulus. How's the last one work out, And then they're planning on hiring more government workers. There's nothing wrong with government workers, but that's not going to get this economy going. And then, of course, they've got plans to make investments, they say. A friend of mine said they don't want to pick winners and losers. They just pick losers. And then, of course, they want to raise taxes. I don't think anyone believes raising taxes creates more jobs. They just don't understand what it takes to get this economy going, and we have a plan. 5 key elements. And Paul spoke about them last night. Let me mention, number 1, we're taking full advantage of our oil, our coal, our natural gas, our nuclear, our renewables. We're going to take advantage of our energy. And that'll protect and grow energy jobs and also manufacturing. There are a lot of manufacturing jobs, including in the glass industry, that use a lot of energy. And when energy is less expensive, jobs come back here. Under President Obama, we've lost 600,000 manufacturing jobs. We want to bring jobs back home to America. That's number one. Number two, we're going to make trade work for us. And so we're going to open up new markets for our goods, but if people cheat like China has cheated, we're going to stop it. Number three, I want training programs that help our people have the skills they need to succeed, and I want our schools to be giving our kids the kind of education they need for the jobs of tomorrow. And that means we've got to put our kids first, and our parents first, and teachers first, and the teachers' union is going to have to go behind. Number four, you're not going to get entrepreneurs to risk their life savings to start a small business, or big companies to come to America and build a big factory and hire Americans if they think we're on the road to Greece. And if we keep on spending every year $1 trillion more than we take in, Greece is where we're headed. And that's why Paul Ryan and I will cut federal spending, we'll cap federal spending, and get us on track to a balanced budget. And number five is this. We're going to champion small business. We're going to help small entrepreneurs build their businesses. And to do that, we're going to keep their taxes down and get their regulations to encourage growth and take that big cloud of Obamacare off of small business. We're going to help small business in America. We do those 5 things and 12 million jobs grow in America. And take-home pay starts going up again. Do you realize under President Obama, every year, not just his first year, every year, the median income in America keeps coming down, down, down. The middle class in America is getting crushed, squeezed, because incomes are down. At the same time, gasoline prices are up, food prices are up, health insurance premiums are up. It's really tough being middle class, even if you have a job in America. And so we're going to go to work to create more jobs and more take-home pay. That is our passion. That's why we're in this race. We need a strong America so that we can provide for our families and for the future of this great country. And I want you to know that I'm confident that we're going to overcome the challenges we have. I've seen the heart of the American people throughout my life. I know something about the character of those who have great qualities of the human spirit in their heart. And we've stood up regardless of the challenges America's faced. We've been there and overcome them. I'm reminded of a couple of experiences. One at the Republican convention just a few months ago. I met Jane Horton there. Jane's husband, sharpshooter, Afghanistan. On the day she's packing a birthday box for him to send to him in Afghanistan, a knock comes to the door to inform her that he has been killed in Afghanistan. Instead of becoming despondent and depressed, she decides that she's going to devote herself to helping families of others who've lost loved ones in conflict. And on the day of her husband's funeral, some of those misguided souls came there to protest the funeral. And she was asked, "What do you think about these people?" And she said this, and I quote, "Chris died for them to be able to protest."
There you go.
Isn't that an amazing American spirit? Isn't that an amazing person, amazing woman? I love our men and women in uniform and their families that sacrifice so deeply for this country. I love one of the lines from a national hymn of ours. "Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country love, and mercy more than life." Would our veterans and members of the armed services please raise your hands so we can recognize you. Thank you. Let me mention another experience I had. And that was, some years ago. I was working with the Boy Scouts of America at the time, and was at a court of honor. For those who don't know what that is, that's where the Boy Scouts get their Eagle Awards or other awards. And there was a Formica table set up in the gymnasium, and I was seated at the end of the Formica table, and there was a flagpole there with a flag next to me. And the person who was speaking was the Boy Scoutmaster from Monument, Colorado. And he said that his Boy Scout troop had wanted to have a very special American flag. So they bought one, gold tassels around the outside. They had it flown above the state capitol, as I recall, and they had it flown above the national capital in Washington, D.C. When it came home, they said, hey, let's have it go up on the space shuttle. So they contacted NASA and said, would you take our flag on the space shuttle? And I'm sure they told them that space comes at a premium in space. You know, it's not a lot of room for souvenirs in the space shuttle. But they took it. They took their flag. And he said, you can't imagine how proud our boys were from their schoolrooms to watch the shuttle take off and go up in the sky on TV, and then they saw it explode before their eyes. And the Scoutmaster said he called NASA a couple of weeks later and said, did you find any remnant of our flag? And they said no. He said he called every week for several months, called and called. Nothing. And then come September, he said he was reading in a newspaper some of the debris found from the Challenger disaster, and they mentioned something about a flag. So he called and said, did you find our flag? They said, as a matter of fact. And so they got together. NASA came together with the Boy Scout troop and presented the boys with this plastic box. And they opened it, and there was their flag in perfect condition. And then he said this. He said, that's it on the flagpole next to Mr. Romney at the end of the table. And I reached over, and I grabbed that flag and held it out. And it was like electricity ran through my arm. Because for me, that flag represented the men and women who put themselves in harm's way in our space program, in our military. Those who reach for learning, who live for something bigger than themselves, who look for discovery, who put themselves out there. It reminds me of the people who when they graduate from college or from high school, say, you know what, I'm going to put aside my career for a while, I'm going to go into the military, serve our country. It reminds me of the dads who are working 2 jobs so they can make enough money so their kids have the kind of clothes the other kids are wearing at school. Come on! Reminds me of those single moms who are wondering how they can put food on the table at the end of the week and scrimp and save to be able to do so. The couples who say we're not going to exchange Christmas gifts among ourselves because we want our kids to have Christmas. This is America. This is who we are. We're the people who live for big things, who care about the future, for our kids, for our nation, for liberty. This is a critical time for America. It's a time when we have to decide what we're going to be. President Obama wants a bigger and bigger government, more and more encompassing, more and more intrusive in our lives. That's not what makes America America. It's freedom that drives America. It's free people. We stand on the shoulders of the greatest generation. My mom and dad and your moms and dads, they fought, protected us, gave us a nation that's free and prosperous, the most prosperous nation in the world. They held a torch for the whole world to see, a torch of liberty and hope and opportunity. But not as many of them as there were. And they can't hold the torch as high as they used to. It's our turn. We've got to grab that torch. We've got to take it in. It's our honor. It's our honor to be able to do so. And so I come to you with this commitment. When Paul Ryan and I become president and vice president, and I mean when we become president and vice president, we will do everything in our power to keep America strong, to restore the values that make our homes the center of our society, to keep our economy strong, and to have a military so strong no one would ever think of testing it. That's the America we see. We make that commitment to you. We need your help. We need to win Ohio. You got to get your friends to help us win Ohio. We win Ohio. We take back America. We keep this country the hope of the earth. Thank you so very much. You